So hopefully everyone can hear me, hopefully the mics are working. My name is Alan Jones, I'm Director of the Global Sustainability Institute here at Anglia Ruskin University. We're a research institute looking at all of these issues around environment and climate change, so it's a great pleasure to chair the event this evening and be your Dimbleby. It's great that we have had so many people turn up and just again welcome everyone to this debate. I'll go through some of the rules and how we're going to run the evening in a few minutes, but just also to welcome our candidates, Fernando for Conservatives, Rupert for Green Party, Daniel Zeichner for Labour, and Julian Huppert, our current MP, and for the Liberal Democrats. Patrick O'Flynn, UKIP, declined the invitation, so we're going to let you know that. I will be an independent chair, so I will try and come out to the audience, and it'll be your opportunity to comment, ask questions, and we'll make sure there's plenty of opportunity for you to do that throughout the evening. I have worked for the Conservative Party, for the Green Party, for the Labour Party, and I used to run the student campaign for Liberal Democrats 7 years ago. So I can legitimately say I've worked across the board. I won't say who I'm voting for, but unfortunately I can't vote for any of the individuals on the panel, so I live just outside Cambridge. So that's unfortunate. I'm sure one of you will persuade me this evening. I think just to set it in context, this is a very important year for the environment and climate change. It's not necessarily something that's going to swing the vote in the UK for this election. It will have some influence, but it won't necessarily be a swing decision. But at the end of this year, we're going to see international agreement around the Sustainable Development Goals, which will set our agenda certainly for the next 10, 15, 20 years. We'll see hopefully an international agreement at the Paris Conference of Parties on a climate change deal, which again will set a long-term trajectory for an international climate change agreement, which will then feed down into European and national politics. European Union is going through changes on the emissions trading scheme and a number of environmental legislation, so we'll see changes and scaling up of ambition around environment at the European level. In the UK, all those parties have recently reasserted their support for the Climate Change Act, which is very important. We have the Green Investment Bank. We have several policies that are in this space to try and encourage action. However, we've also seen over the last few years changes to the feed-in tariffs, which helped collapse the solar industry, changes to the Green Deal, which helped collapse the retrofit industry, and a budget announcement on supporting the oil industry this week. And well, I wouldn't let any of the parties off, although that does target one party in particular at the moment. But they happen to be the party controlling those particular bills. Those particular ministers. But in the meantime, we have had the record warmest winter globally. Record extreme weather events all around the world, so 1 in 100, 1 in 200 year events are happening every year, every month. Air quality is still bad in southeast of England in particular. We're above World Health Organization targets. Water stress, in particular in this region, is increasing. And we have issues around energy security, food security, and a number of other environmental and climate change challenges that need to be faced. And the next government, or coalition government, will have a number of challenges that we will need to look at over the next term of Parliament. So, interesting debates and interesting topics and details that we get into. I think possibly unusually, it's fair to say each of our candidates in Cambridge that are represented here are quite strong on the environment and climate change in their personal and professional careers, which is great. So hopefully we can have a really interesting debate on some of the issues, on actually how we're going to tackle some of these questions. The way we're going to structure this evening is we have 5 broad themes where we've tried to structure some of the pre-submitted questions. So if you have a burning question around any of these themes, please hold it for that particular session. And the 5 broad themes are the economy, international, energy, green investment and infrastructure, behaviour and personal actions, and then Cambridge, local agenda. So those are our 5 broad themes. We have some questions to start off in each of those from the questions you've already submitted, either via Twitter or via pieces of paper or Facebook's email. Each of the candidates will have 1 minute to introduce themselves, and I have a sort of egg timer to make sure they stick to 1 minute. The rules are: please be polite. Don't talk over each other. I will, if you want to come back on a particular candidate, please do indicate, and I will come to you. I reserve the right to cut you off if you are off topic and you're not answering the question, or your answer is not clear, and I ask you to clarify. I also reserve the right to cut off anyone in the audience who is making a statement, not a question, unless you're being asked to make a statement, and if you go on too long. Or if your question is about something that isn't the environment or climate change or sustainability. So if it's completely off topic, then the idea for this evening is to focus on the environment and climate change. That's it. So we will go on to our introductions from the panel. Chamali, to you first.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is lovely to see such a packed audience. My name is Chamali Fernando. I'm 36 years old, and I am campaigning full-time to turn Cambridge blue. In 12 years as a barrister, I've represented people from all walks of life in a variety of disciplines: planning, environmental law, civil litigation and criminal litigation. I'm also a policy advisor to set up an international port for the environment, and I believe that the environment is one of the things that I can really champion here in Cambridge. I'm proud of this government. We've introduced the carbon price floor for electricity producers. We created the Green Investment Bank and backed that with 3.8 billion of government funding. We've invested in carbon capture technology. We created the Green Energy Deal. We created the Renewable Heat Incentive. And we've also changed planning law for new homes to be able to be zero carbon. So if you want a strong, pragmatic, green voice in Parliament, vote Fernando.
Who is actually serious about this? For whom does this set of issues and concerns run deep in the blood, in the marrow? Who is going to make this their priority in Parliament? My top two connected issues are and would be human-triggered climate change and transport. They're connected, of course, because transport is the sector with the fastest growing carbon emissions. Massive transformational changes are needed in that area above all others. So, who really means it? I invite you to look at the record of Caroline Lucas, the first Green MP. Look at how much we've achieved with just one MP, and now imagine if we had 12 or 8 or at least 3. Why 3? Because Cambridge was the third strongest result for the Green Party at the 2010 election. If we're going to have at least 3 Green MPs, it needs to happen here. So I'm asking you tonight to send me as your representative to Parliament, to stand shoulder to shoulder with Caroline Lucas. It's not enough as having just one Green Party MP. Think what we could do with the group.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Daniel Zeichner. I'm a Labour candidate. I'm a lifelong red and green person. So much so that when my partner and I are trying to escape the Thatcherite period and get out of the economic system, set up a small business in Norfolk and set up a hardy plant nursery, we called it the Red and Green Nurseries. And people used to say, why is it called that? The front door isn't red or green. And I used to say, it's red for the politics and green for the plants, which was good on ethics. I'd say it wasn't that good at attracting customers. And there's probably a political lesson there. But it's intertwined all my political work. And over the years, long-term member of Greenpeace, I've been involved in Labour's policy making at the highest levels, member of Labour's Policy Commission on Environment and Transport for a number of years, in the last year working with Caroline Flint on Labour's plans for green jobs and the economy. Just one point though, when David Cameron came in, he claimed this was going to be the greenest government ever. Even he says it's crap now. And I think the record is absolutely clear. So for me, if you elect me to Parliament, I will be trying to make sure there's a green thread running through every piece of government policy. And actually, governments need to be pushed on this because they don't always live up to their expectations. And I look forward to working with you to make sure that any future Labour government does exactly that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here and to see so many of you here. But it shouldn't be a surprise because this is one of the most important issues of our lifetime. Last year was the hottest year on record. Most of us have seen most of the hottest years on record, and it's not going to change. And climate change is the thing that has the highest potential to destroy us as a species, other perhaps the nuclear holocaust, which is a good reason to get rid of Trident. And climate change is something which I have prioritised during my time as MP. We've had some good successes. I wish there'd been more. I co-sponsored the bill to decarbonise the entire electricity sector. We didn't succeed, but at least I tried. I also played a leading role in the fight against fracking. And again, we achieved a few small bits. It will now be legally possible to stop fracking if it increases carbon emissions, which I think it clearly will do. I managed to get an amendment so that fracking will not be allowed within national parks, areas of outstanding national beauty, and triple SIs. I also pushed the vote to say there should be a complete moratorium on fracking. I lost. I'm really sorry, but we tried. And if re-elected, what I will do is to continue to prioritise this. I can't promise to win every fight I go into, but I can promise to keep fighting and do the best I can for our environment. One of the ways of doing that is through what we have in manifestos. I'm one of the people writing the Lib Dem manifesto. We haven't published it yet, but at the heart will be 5 green laws. A nature bill, which we've been working on with RSPB and Friends of the Earth and others, to deal with biodiversity, clean air, clean water and so forth. A heating and energy efficiency bill, a zero waste Britain bill, a zero carbon Britain bill, and a green transport bill. Those are 5 important priorities.